I can tell you, standing here in Ulverston, 22 years later, best decision I've ever made in my life. I'm assuming all the people in this room, if you've come here through business, you expect your business to excel. You expect excellence. We say all these words. We want high performance. We want excellence. We want our people to be the best. We want Cumbria to be, you know, a driving force in the country or in the world. Where is there an absolute expectation?
John, what prompted you to go into this sort of business guidance role when you left the RAF?
I did an MBA in the mid-90s, and then when I got promoted, went to the Ministry of Defence. I was given a project to look at high-performance aircrew, how and why people make mistakes in aviation, and how does the system learn from those failures. And from that and the corporate connections I had through the Gulf story, I thought those things resonated, so I thought I'd try and see whether I could help businesses with some of the stuff we'd discovered. And they all have fantastic war stories. You know, they got shot at by guns, by missiles. We lost one of our friends on the squadron. Yet none of them get asked to such a beautiful part of the country, and I've flown over.
Do you ever get tired of people asking you about the sort of capture and your captivity at the hands of the Iraqis?
You just accept it. I know, you know, John Peters is not that interesting, but for this story, I get that, you know, hopefully I have things to contribute in other sense, like anybody would say that, but that story was sufficiently big that actually you'd be a fool. I will never escape it. And also it would be hubris in some ways, because you say that story has transformed my life and given me opportunities, so it's a double-edged sword.
You were incredibly vulnerable, or you appeared incredibly vulnerable when you were on TV. A lot of people equate vulnerability with weakness. Did you feel that at the time, or how did that affect you, having had worldwide exposure in that way?
But what you saw on television was acting.
This war should be stopped so we can go home. I do not agree on this war with Iraq.
So for me, you know, I was feeling extremely vulnerable because you've had 5 days no sleep, the beatings, etc. But part of the brief in the military is you don't go on television. So by the time they put the camera and the lights, etc. on, you know they're trying to expose you to television. So my thought was, how do I convey to people that I don't want to be there? So I thought, well, I put my head down, I can't, and I knew my face was all puffed up, and I'll try and play that role to demonstrate that I was there under pressure. I mean, I had a gun against my head, for God's sake, so that was how I conveyed that I didn't want to be there. I see it in my business now. A vision is a narrative of where you want to be in the future. Why? Because whatever's happening, at least you've got a sort of flag to aim at. As I was in captivity, I was driving towards Baghdad. I know what is going to happen to me. And you go, and I had to make a promise to myself, because I know, and I thought I was going to be there for 10 years. So on the way in, I just promised myself, whatever happens to me, they're going to break my arms, break my legs, take my teeth out, and I disappear for 10 years. But then miraculously, say I get out in 10 years' time, when I get back, I will not be a damaged human being.
You've turned a potentially negative experience into a positive. Is that one of the things you try and do with your business clients?
In turning negatives to positive, I think that's what human beings do. That's what successful human beings do. When we see anybody in life who has succeeded, they've usually dealt with their failures along the route, and that's all I've done. And I think we all do that naturally. Sometimes when businesses are under pressure, they just need a little bit of reinforcement to realise, actually, look at the problems you've overcome to date. Why is this one any different? You don't have to be a prisoner of war. You don't have to be in the military to understand that. You think about the last 4 or 5 years in your businesses. You think about the leaders in that business. I bet you could look around how many, you know, you could notice the leaders who had the real courage to make those horrendous decisions. We're going to have to, I will make the decision to get 20% of these people out, you know, out, because otherwise the business will go down. Those are courageous decisions. And the
how important do you feel it is for businesses to gain experience of how other people perform and how other people have coped with problems and issues?
Oh, I think the interaction of knowledge is absolute. Whether it's someone like me, where you say, okay, you could say it's a specific environment, but some of the stuff I learned is applicable to other businesses, or else I wouldn't have a business. But in equal measure, you know, you could say, for instance, nuclear business can learn off retail. Now, in initial, well, what could I learn? They're two different businesses. Oh, but when it's still logistics, people, money, making a profit, or whatever you want to achieve, if it's a charity, making those ends. So those things are, there's all businesses or all organisations are on that line, and we can learn from different ways of seeing the world.
Who or what has been your greatest influence, and where have you learned the most important lessons you bring to life?
The most important lessons actually are from people who no one would know, because they had a direct effect upon my life. There's a guy called Cliff Hilliker, who was a flying instructor of mine, a specific school teacher, a guy called Mr. Rundle, my brother, who's extremely clever. I think, like most people, it's moments from my life. Although I admire Nelson Mandela, I think Gandhi was unbelievable, and I read books of people I admire. Actually, it's the people who meant a lot to me personally that helped me at my moment of crisis, at each moment that I find inspire me.
Do you miss flying tornadoes?
Of course I do. I'm a boring management consultant now. No, you know, I was a tornado pilot. I loved it, and I think once a pilot, you can never remove that little twinkle in the eye of sort of being a boyish, you know, sense of, gosh, I'm a pilot. But yeah, you know, I'm a middle-aged man now.
How well do you know Cumbria? Did you fly over it, for example, when you were with the RAF?
Oh yeah, I love Cumbria. Cumbria is beautiful. I mean, it's a stunning part of the world. I mean, it's so beautiful that, you know, and it's got some world-class businesses. And I find myself, why would you want to live in London or elsewhere in the country if you can live in such a beautiful part of the world? And now, because the world is so connected, it's I would almost say, now, come live in Cumbria, use technology to connect to the rest of the world, because now, and it's the same for me actually, I connect to the world through technology. So now I would imagine the opportunities now to live in a beautiful part of the world like this in the next 20, 30 years and sustain a world-class business, there's never been such an opportunity.
What do you think about the economic future for Cumbria? Is it just a tourist destination, or could it be more?
I think it's up to the Cumbrians as to how they play their game. Yes, that you've got a natural resource, you've got a natural beauty, it's a phenomenal part of the world, but then it's up to the talent of the people within Cumbria to maximise what Cumbria has to offer. But given its location, you've got some, as I say, some world-class companies, the nuclear, etc., that can be world-leading or are world-leading. But then it's all the other smaller businesses saying, what sort of business can I set up, sustain, develop and grow within Cumbria that's not just locally based, that can reach the rest of the world? And that gets down to the talent of the people. So attract the people to this area and Cumbria can grow as fast as it wishes.
And you're obviously here to help with that process. What sort of strengths will you be seeking to build on from the presentation today?
Well, I think it's challenging people to lead. I mean, the enemy's outside that door. So how do we use that competition to help with each other? What do you need to get yourself the very best? Because I care about making you the best you can be. Now, you're not that good at this. Okay, I'm good at that. I'll help you, but I'm not good at what you do. So that's how you separate high-performance teams to
normal performance. You care about improving the performance of others, which then shifts the whole mindset towards to a higher level. So
I mean, I'm here on behalf of the Centre of Leadership Performance, and it's organisations like that that is challenging local business to engage with this new world, to say, how can you take Cumbria to where it hasn't been? Within that, the unknown, there's pressures, there's dealing with stress, and there's decisions you have to make when you don't know the answer. Well, that's what I'm talking about today. Given my background, it's saying, how do you deal with circumstances where, do you know, you have no background and no understanding of where it's going, but have the confidence in your abilities to make decisions, whether they succeed or fail, but continue to make those decisions under stress, under pressure, because ultimately, in any business environment, those are the businesses that succeed, the ones who can adapt and change and lead into the future.
The golf ball was 22 years ago, your experience then. Has it been a struggle to avoid that defining you, if you like, as a person?
I don't think it's been a struggle. It's been a gift because it allows you access. Suddenly people wish to speak to you. And interesting enough, I mean, I deal with senior teams, and you know, you could say, well, I do marketing. Well, there's always a marketing director there who may know more than you, or there's a chief exec who've done more. But when you say, look, chief exec, you know, let's talk about fear. Well, that's a resonant. They get it. They go, well, this person understands fear. And a lot of chief execs and senior people in companies, they're frightened because they are trying to build businesses. They've got all these pressures. And actually, those are some pivotal conversations, dealing with uncertainty, dealing with fear, dealing with lack of confidence, because not because they are underconfident, but because situation, you know, puts them in a situation where they feel underconfident. So those conversations allow me access to then explore the business tools that I have on offer to help them solve their problems.
It's impossible, yet here I am. So whatever challenge you have, whatever decisions you have, whatever pressures you have forthcoming. Think yourself telling a story 22 years after the event, standing on a stage, because people want to hear that story, and that's how you create your stories. Make the decisions. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to speaking with you after. Thank you very much indeed.
We've never had anything like this down in Ulverston before, so this is the first baby step perhaps, but what a big step John took us through.
And are you hoping to do some more work with the Centre for Leadership Performance in future?
Yes, we're going to sit down with them again. They have a range of speakers which I hope will follow out of West Cumbria and come down to Ulverston, so that people in South Cumbria and beyond, as people from Lancashire came up here today, as far away as Leeds. It was a great success.
What did you get out of it personally?
I think personally there was a reflection on what's important to me. So I took something personal out of, you know, that work-life balance. But from a professional point of view, we took a few things, particularly around resilience and how to deal with change, which resonated not with just myself, but also with our leadership team.
I thought it was extremely relevant. I thought it was very moving in terms of the experience and being shot down and prisoner of war. And I also felt that the way that he dealt with those very difficult circumstances had a lot to teach people dealing with equal stressful circumstances in business life.